It started with silence. The kind of silence that doesn't feel empty, it feels heavy. Jason sat there, staring at the cracked ceiling of his tiny apartment, surrounded by bills, broken dreams, and the kind of loneliness that eats you alive. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. His phone was off, his bank account negative, and his friends, well, they had stopped calling a long time ago. That night wasn't just another night. It was the one that breaks you or builds you. And Jason, he didn't know which side he was on yet. He looked at himself in the mirror. Dark circles under his eyes, hair messy, face pale, and whispered something that didn't even sound like him. I'm done being this version of me. But it wasn't anger. It was something colder, deeper, like the quiet before a storm. You know that moment when you realize no one's coming to save you? That was it. Jason had hit the kind of rock bottom that doesn't just hurt, it changes your DNA. The world had beaten him to his knees. Rejections, failures, people telling him he wasn't enough. He tried to start a business once, failed. Tried music, failed. Tried to be the good guy, failed. Everything he touched turned to dust. But that night, something inside him cracked. It wasn't a breakdown. It was a rebirth. He walked outside, barefoot, into the freezing night. The city was asleep. Streetlights flickered. His breath came out in white smoke as he looked up at the sky and whispered, "Never again." It wasn't a prayer. It was a promise. He didn't know how, but he knew one thing. He would never be poor again. Not in money, not in mind, not in spirit. For the next few months, Jason disappeared, literally. No one saw him. His social media went dark. His friends thought he'd lost it. But he hadn't lost it. He'd found it. Every single morning, before sunrise, he was up, studying, reading, grinding. He stopped wasting time, stopped chasing people, stopped complaining. He became obsessed. Obsession isn't pretty. It's sleepless nights, headaches, hunger, sacrifice. But that's what it takes to build yourself from ashes. He studied everything. Business, human behavior, psychology, wealth, pain. He learned that success wasn't about talent or luck. It was about one thing: control. Control over your mind, your emotions, your habits. He trained himself like a soldier, cutting off distractions, deleting apps, saying no to everything that didn't move him closer to that new version of himself. At one point, he even talked to himself in the mirror for hours, breaking down every lie he'd ever believed. You're weak. You're lazy. You care too much what they think. And one by one, he destroyed those lies. Because when you have nothing left, the truth is the only weapon you've got. Then came the hunger. The type of hunger that doesn't go away with food. The hunger for power, respect, peace. He wanted to walk into a room and not need to speak to be heard. He wanted to build something that couldn't be taken away, a life on his own terms. While everyone else partied, he worked. While others scrolled, he planned. While others slept, he built. The nights blurred into mornings. His body ached, his eyes burned, but he didn't stop. Because pain had become his fuel. Every rejection was gasoline. Every failure was a spark. And then, one morning, months later, he walked past the same mirror that once showed him a broken man. But this time, what he saw scared him a little. His eyes were sharper, his jaw tighter, his silence louder. He had become something else, something unrecognizable. Not because he had money yet, but because he had discipline. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. He didn't talk much anymore, didn't explain himself, didn't argue. Because once you've rebuilt yourself from nothing, words feel cheap. He learned that people don't believe what you say. They believe what you show them. So he showed them. Slowly, quietly, ruthlessly. His first big break came not from luck, but from readiness. An opportunity that others would have missed because they weren't paying attention. But Jason was. He was always watching, waiting, learning. He saw the window open and he didn't hesitate. He dove through it head first. Money started to come in, small at first, but consistent. Then more, until the same people who ignored his calls were suddenly asking for advice. He didn't hate them, he just didn't care anymore. Because he had learned the greatest revenge wasn't success, it was indifference. You could feel the change in him, his posture, his walk, his eyes. There was no trace of the boy who used to beg for approval. He didn't need validation. He had built his own approval system. He had become addicted to progress, not attention. But deep down, he never forgot that night, the one that started it all. Sometimes, late at night, he'd sit by the window, stare out at the city lights, and remember the version of himself who almost gave up. The boy who thought life was over. And he'd whisper again, never again. See, this story isn't about becoming rich. It's about becoming unbreakable. About reaching a point where nothing anyone does can shake you. When your silence becomes your weapon. When you stop waiting for life to get easier, and instead, you get stronger. Jason didn't become successful overnight. He became patient, strategic, dangerous in the best way. Because when a person learns to control their mind, nothing else can control them. The people who once doubted him now tell stories about him, but he doesn't even hear it because he's too busy living the life they said he couldn't. And maybe you've had your night too. Maybe you've hit that wall, that moment when everything feels pointless. But maybe, just maybe, that's your moment, the same way it was Jason's. Because the night you think you're breaking might be the night you're actually being rebuilt. If you're still here, if you felt that darkness, take this as your sign. Don't let that version of you win. Make your promise tonight. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for help. Just decide. Decide that you'll never be broke again. Not in your wallet, not in your heart, not in your confidence. Because the moment you decide, really decide, everything changes. Jason's story isn't special. It's proof. Proof that one night, one decision can rewrite your entire life. So whatever you're facing right now, that's your fire. That's your test. And if you let it, it'll turn you into someone the world can't ignore. And when it does, when you finally step into that new version of yourself, remember this. Don't forget the night that started it all. Because that's the night you stopped being a victim and became the author of your story. Stay hungry, stay cold, stay unstoppable. And hey, if this hit you somewhere deep, follow the page, because your story is next. Because here's the truth, no one wants to admit. Most people never get their Jason night. They flirt with it, complain about it, drown it with distractions, but they never sit alone in that darkness long enough to let it change them. They run back to comfort. Jason didn't. He sat in that pain until it burned every excuse out of him. That's what made the difference. Pain, when you let it, becomes clarity. He used to hate the nights. Now he loves them. The quiet, the focus, the solitude. He says it's the only time he can hear his real voice, the one that doesn't lie, doesn't sugarcoat, doesn't need applause. The voice that just says, keep going. You know, people always ask him, what's your secret? Expecting some fancy formula. But he laughs. There's no secret. It's just 1,000 small decisions stacked on top of each other, choosing discipline over distraction, progress over perfection, solitude over fake friendships. Every time he could have quit, he just didn't. That's it. That's the whole story. But yet, there's something magnetic about someone who's walked through hell and came back clean. You can feel it in his presence, the calmness, the confidence. He doesn't need to prove anything, because when you've survived yourself, nothing else is that scary anymore. Sometimes people mistake his quiet for arrogance, but it's not arrogance, it's peace. The peace that comes from knowing you built yourself. No shortcuts, no handouts, just pure grind, pain, and patience. He remembers those who laughed at him too, the ones who said he'd never make it. He doesn't hate them, but he uses them. Every insult became a rep in his mental gym. Every doubt, another brick in his foundation. Because nothing motivates like being underestimated. But here's what most people don't see. Success didn't make him happy. Purpose did. The money came, sure, the cars, the watches, the lifestyle. But what really mattered was the control, the freedom to wake up and decide his own day, the ability to say no, the luxury of peace. That's what he was chasing all along. Freedom, not wealth. And now, when he talks to others who were stuck where he once was, he doesn't tell them to chase